we're going to talk about Spreadsheet Designer today. My name is Lisa Rogers, and I'm a senior supply chain consultant. I'm experienced and certified in supply chain management S3, as well as the Cloud Suite Supply Management, which we call FSM. I've been the lead consultant for supply chain optimization and process improvement projects, MSCM, RQC, punch-out, recall management deployments. I've also done net new as well as upgrades. And one of my favorite things to do is application support. I like to go in and fix people's system, and I don't get to do that too much as a consultant. And training engagements. Before joining RPI, I was a supply chain analyst. Prior to that, I was a buyer, then went to a supply chain analyst. Then I went on to being the loss and system administrator. And then as they were moving away from Infor Lawson and going to another ERP system, I was the project manager at a large healthcare organization, and I'm based out of Tampa.
And I'm Michelle Hager. I have experience in just finance, mainly in S3 and in Cloud Suite. I'm just recently certified. And I'm new to RPI. I joined about a week before the pandemic. So I have yet to meet anyone in person, minus the West Coast division. But so I'm new. I'm excited to help with some customer upgrades, which I have been from afar. And previously, my experience mainly was with Confluence Health in Wenatchee, Washington. And they were on S3, and then we upgraded to Cloud Suite. And they upgraded to Cloud Suite about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I'm based out of the Phoenix, Arizona office, but I live in a place called Peshastin, Washington.
Hence, we picked our picture. There's even a better view with Spreadsheet Designer. And this really is to welcome Michelle to the RPI world. So today's agenda, we're going to look at differences, queries, relations, related fields and properties, uploads, some tips and tricks, and then we'll take some questions. So there's a different view with Spreadsheet Designer. A lot of us are accustomed to Microsoft add-ins. When you go to FSM, it is now Spreadsheet Designer. A lot of people were hesitant when we started using Microsoft add-ins, and I've had the conversation with Michelle. I'm like, I don't know if I want to learn Spreadsheet Designer, but I'm glad that I did because it has a better look, a better feel, and it really is a lot easier to get in, to jump right in and start using. So you can see that it's different. We have our product line, our business class, which is different than our tables. And then once we select a business class, all of those fields will open up and then we can select which ones we want. So it is a different view. Spreadsheet Designer, the differences, Microsoft add-ins was LSF COBOL, and now it's Landmark LPL. The query or upload tables, we queried and upload to tables. Now we're going to query and load to business class or lists. We used to have DME and WF files. Now we have the Excel files, the .xls or the .xlsx file. We could add, change, or delete in Microsoft add-ins, but now we have a variety of form actions. It all depends on the form that you're on. In add-ins, we could do a Control-Shift-O. It would tell us the acronym of the table as well as the fields. In Spreadsheet Designer, we're going to click Control-Shift-Left-Click, and it'll give us that same information. So Spreadsheet Designer query, we go to Excel, we click on Infor, we select Insert Query. The Insert Query business class box will pop up. We select our data area, we select our business class, and then it opens up. So here, RPI Consultants Dev, FSM is our product area. We're going to open payables, invoicing, and then all of the fields that are related to that business class will pop up.
Okay, this is after you've run a query And if you notice on the left-hand side, it's like she's already picked the data area, she's already picked her business class, and then an important thing to note for later is that query limit. There's a checkbox right there that you want to check to limit your query when you first run it, just because if you have a large set of data and you haven't filtered it down to anything, it runs for quite a while. So you want to limit it just to see what your fields are going to populate. It gives you a really good idea of all those fields on the left-hand side in that white box. It gives you an idea within the spreadsheet, within the tab from left to right, exactly the data that is coming out of CSF. So important, limit your query first if you're new to it.
Okay.
We're going to create a query using Infor Spreadsheet Designer, just a simple query. And I'm going to try to grab all the invoices for a particular vendor that have been entered, released, or paid. All of the above, actually for vendor number 2. And the first thing you want to do is grab the business class for the query. And we're going to come in here where you enter invoices. This is the screen where you enter all of them, and you want to hit Control-Shift at the same time on your keyboard, and also use your mouse to left-click. So Control-Shift, left-click inside the box. And we want the Payables Invoice tab. You can do that in any spot within Cloud Suite to grab your business class that you want to query. So let's navigate to Spreadsheet Designer. And if you're familiar with add-ins, that tab used to show up at the top, and for Spreadsheet Designer, it's the Infor tab, and you want to click on Insert Query right here. If you want to do an upload, you would shift to this section, but right now we're just going to do a query. You want to select your data area, and then just like we found in Cloud Suite, we want to search for the Payables Invoice business class, and it pops up, so you can either click on it or continue typing. Then all of your fields are going to come into view. And in this particular business class, there's over 8,000 fields in this business class. So yeah, if you select all, just be aware that it's going to go through all those fields and add them to your spreadsheet. It's going to take a bit of time. But this runs super fast if you click the fields that you want. And later on, you can add more if you feel like you need some more in there. And I want an amount field, so I'm going to navigate and use a search box to see it dropped all the way down and found the amount paid field. I feel like I'm going to bring that one in also, and how about one more. And I also want a description. Let's see if we can grab that one. There we go. And let's insert the fields into our spreadsheet. If you decide, like I said, at a later date to add some fields or to remove some, you can. It pops up on the left-hand side of the screen, and you just check and uncheck the box for the field that you want. And each field is a column. So from left to right, you'll have columns at the top of your spreadsheet for your query. And once it drops into there, we're going to filter for vendor number 2. And I'll show you how the filter works. It's really easy. It pulls every invoice in the system for that vendor. So let's use our filter. And I know that vendor is toward the top here. So you want to right click and add to filter. So come down to the filter box, and I'm going to put in vendor number 2. And I am just going to run this query wide open. So if you have a fear of this being really large, you can always limit your query and use this checkbox here and limit it to 10. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And if there's more than 10, you'll want to uncheck the box and run it wide open. But for this case, we're just going to run it for 10 and see what it brings back. So you want to come up here and click on that refresh button. And that's basically the same thing as run or execute. And it brought back our data. And that's a very simple way of how you can query data within Cloud Suite. Thanks.
And now we're going to go into relations, related fields, and properties. Adding relations and related fields is easy. Once you're in your business class and you click on the area and you right-click and hit Add Relations, your Add Relation Fields box will pop up. In this example, we're going to pick Buyer. And then once we click on Buyer, it expands, and then we can pick which field we want. And in our example, we're going to pick the purchasing contact as buyer relations. And we run our query. We can see our data area, our business class, our query limit. If I don't check the box, I'm going to get a lot of information if it's there, but then I can select under my purchasing contact as buyer relations, I can select what fields I want to bring in as a related field. Then I'll run my query and the information populates into our system, or into our spreadsheet. Here's another video.
In this example, we're going to create a relation between two business classes using Infor Spreadsheet Designer. And the reason for doing this is because Infor has grouped data into business classes. And there might be certain instances where you want data from a different business class to drop in with all the data that you're querying from your main business class. In this example, I'm going to use purchase order line to grab all of the line details on a purchase order. And I just know that the buyer's name is sitting in a different business class. And I would like the buyer's name along with all the PO details so I know what buyer I want to go ask questions. So let's insert a query. You want to click on the Infor tab at the top of your Excel spreadsheet and then click on Insert Query. You want to select your data area that you're querying. And then I'm going to start from the purchase order line business class. All your fields pop up below, and I'm only wanting a few. So I'm going to choose the following. And I also noticed the buyer's name is situated right there. Excuse me, the buyer field is sitting right there. And I'm going to hit Insert. So once it drops into your columns at the top, you'll notice once you run this query that buyer doesn't necessarily mean it's the buyer's name. That is the buyer's number. So that is not exactly the field that I want. I want to grab the name. So you'll see up here all the columns have populated, and I'm going to put my filter on the particular purchase order that I want to run this for. So right click, add the filter, and then insert the data into the value field down here. And right click again and add relation. So here is where we're going to get the relations that are available for the purchase order line business class. Not all of them are available. It's kind of a lot of testing out to see which ones are. But if you've seen any of the previous videos, you can also, if you don't know what relations or what exactly data falls in the fields above, you hit this query checkbox and do a limit of like 10 or 20. And that eases the need to have an actual purchase order. If you just want to see what's in the field and see what relations you can get, don't use the filter, use this query limit and check the box. And it's going to go through the database and just add purchase orders and the details along with it. And then you can just kind of get an idea of all the fields and what they mean, because this one was what I thought was the buyer's name, but it's not. It's the buyer's number, which is not helpful in this instance for me. So here are the business classes that you can create a relation with. And this particular one is where I want to grab the buyer's name. And it's going to insert it always at the very bottom of all your fields. So you want to click the plus sign, and I'm going to scoot this out a bit. You want to hit that plus, and then just for grins, I'm going to click on buyer to see what is in that field. And then we want one that says name on it. And right. So we have all our columns. If you decide you need more, you can always add them. But we're going to run this query as is. And you just go up here and hit refresh. And all your data is populated. So as you can see, relations show up with the rel name in it. But that would not have been helpful for me. What I was needing is Frank the Tank. Now I know I need to go talk to him. So this is an example of how you can use relations within Infor Spreadsheet Designer to get data that you need.
And now we're going to move on to the Spreadsheet Designer upload.
So now is uploads. Sorry, the video might be a bit quiet. We recorded it beforehand so we could kind of multitask. But if you need any videos, we can send those to you too. It's kind of once over is hard to get a gist of it, but if you need those, let us know. So for uploads, you want to pick the Infor tab again and use the upload query. We have it circled in yellow. And again, it has you select your data area, and then you select your business class. It's the second drop-down box there. And then the third box is all of the actions that you can pick within CSF. So that's a difference from S3 to CSF, is that anything you can do in that business class within CSF, you can do on an upload. So you have a lot more options like create, update, release. I picked journalizing, an RJ, recurring journal, and the finance side, because you can create an unreleased RJ, you can release it, and you can journalize it. All three of those things you can do within this upload wizard. And then also here, this shows all of the options that you can do to upload. I was kind of a big fan because you get three options. So on the left-hand side, you can see that I've dropped the upload. There's no data within the spreadsheet there just yet. But as you can see, you don't have to pick every field, but what you do have to pick is those yellow required fields. It's a little bit small, but it's those light colored fields. You have to make sure you have those for the upload for it to work. Also, when you actually are ready to do your upload, in the screen to the right, you can just upload the data in this tab. You can upload a sheet range, which we'll show you later on too. You can do multiple rows that aren't sequential. And then you have an upload all option to where it will upload every tab in your spreadsheet from left to right. That one I think is super useful, but it's also a little bit dangerous. You have to make sure that you're aware of when you use the upload all option. Okay, and this one is also something you have to be careful about, but I also think once you're used to it, it's great, because if you ever don't know the fields that you want to upload, and like say certain fields are a number instead of a yes or a no, or some certain fields, the date format is not 06/01/2019, 2020, I should probably say. But what you want to do is do a query first. You download all of the fields. Make sure to use your query limit so it doesn't run forever. And then you can directly on the same tab fix whatever dropped in there. Like say you have 1,000 rows of data that you just used on a query, and all of them have a yes in a certain field, and you want to change it to a no all 1,000 of those rows, do your query first, drop it into that tab, change all the yeses to a no on all those lines, and then upload it. So it saves a ton of time. Where you have to be careful is accidentally choosing upload when you meant query. You know, you just have to be careful that it's all on the same tab. But yeah, I think it's a really good, helpful piece of this tool from S3 to CSF.
Also, a better view also shows us the errors. Just as in add-ins, it would give you the error, but it wouldn't color code it. And you do have the option of turning this off, but I'm not sure why you would do that. But if everything comes back correctly, it's updated, it will give you in column, it names it column 1. In our example, it's T. It tells you that the work assignment has been updated. If there was anything that it didn't like, it would highlight the error in red. And then it would highlight a yellow field. That field doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's wrong. You may have to research to whittle it down, fix it, and then you can upload and hopefully get your green back. Here in this example, you can see that I had some fat fingers and I typed RPII instead of RPI. I would fix it and then I would run my query for that line and then it would turn to green.
So this is a journal entry for just a basic GL journal entry. And this is a spreadsheet. I was actually taught this before, but I created my own here for this. And this is the main tab where you're going to enter all your details for your company. And this is all linked to the second and the third tab. But all the green highlighted ones are all of the detail lines of the journal entry. You want what's required are the row numbers, and all of your debits and credits need to equal 0. So it's all built in. And this spreadsheet was really helpful because the second tab is where we're going to do our upload. And the only thing I have formulas in pretty much every cell, -1. Formulas in each cell on that row that are linked to the main tab, so it just makes it easy. And same with the details tab on the second row. But so someone who isn't as techie can just enter their data on the journal entry tab and then come here. And I chose the upload all button. So it's going to go left to right in your spreadsheet, and it's going to create the journal entry header. It's going to hopefully go green, and green means success, which is great. And you can see now it's on the second tab, and all you did was click once, creates the header, creates the detail, and red comes, that means an error happened. But you should see bright green if you have all the correct fields in there. I find this really nice and easy to use for journal entries. You can use it for recurring journal entries. You can use it for invoices to create invoices with all the detail lines. Yeah, and see we have all green, and it pops that journal entry number. So that always has to be blank. So the only thing we have to remember on this tab is to delete any data in cell D2, because it's going to give you that new journal entry number in that cell, but it needs to be blank. It's simple journal entry, uploads. Well, uploads great. Was it?
Okay. To go back on to the video that we just saw where we updated multiple tabs in one click of the button, in my past life, I was in supply chain and I created this same kind of document that would upload items. So it would be your item master and then your vendor record and then your agreement. And basically I had to run 3 separate times. And then once I was done, I had to go into the system, go to the PO25 vendor agreement record, and I would have to manually release it. So this makes it so much easier. Thanks for showing us that. All right, so we're going to move on to tips and tricks. One of our tips is that when you have an issue with Spreadsheet Designer, it is very important that you include your version of Spreadsheet Designer. Getting tongue-tied here, sorry. You would click on Infor and then About, and the box on the right would show, and our version, our product version is 10.0.43.633. Very helpful when opening a ticket with Infor because they're going to ask for that anyways.
Okay. And actually this question came up from, who is it? I think Scott. Yeah, I'm gonna butcher your last name, I'm so sorry. Scott, he said, when you disable the colors for faster speed on a large upload? And you would. This is how you disable the colors. There's little features that you can make Spreadsheet Designer go a little faster. It's the very far left-hand side of Spreadsheet Designer, and that little red Infor box, you do the drop-down and click on Settings. And a few things, like undoing the color coding. Maybe you don't want that fancy red and green, whatever. And then I kind of like it because it stands out. You can see the red. I understand colors, I guess, better than words. And then in the top two boxes, it says query in batch mode and upload in batch mode. That is actually pretty useful. I didn't know much about that before coming to RPI, but when you query large amounts of data that have relations in them, and it stresses any system out, but you want to turn this off if you, I would say, at least have 1,000 or more lines of data and any sort of relations in there. You just want to come in here and turn it off before you hit upload or query. And give it a try. Sometimes there's just no set way to know how many lines of data is too much, but keep it turned on if you're just doing a journal entry. And that fast feedback, if you see like right in the middle, you can turn that off. So it just words pop back, which, if you don't need colors, turn it off.
We have filter options in Spreadsheet Designer, and if you know your field in your business class, down in the bottom you can key that in, but you have to know the whole extent of that field. So we key it in and then we can do the value. But if we don't really know what that value might be, if we click on open filter button, the box to the right will open, and just as we do in your filter search in Infor Lawson, you can select your not equals to, contains, and then type in the information. And in our example, we selected Michelle, and so the formula, when you hit preview, the formula comes up here in the bottom. And that's just one way to do a filter, or two ways to do a filter. And then, of course, you want to clear your filters if you want to go and do something else. The other thing, and I know we've touched on this multiple times, is the query limit. Running lots of data is really bad. You don't want to bring the system down. So you always want to view a small subset of your information, of all of your records, making sure you have the right fields and everything. Just remember, you have to check the box to the right of your query limit. So it doesn't matter, even though I keyed in 10, if I did not check that box to the right, it's going to search all of the data that's in the system. So very important.
And this is part of the upload I was talking about, where you can select the range of rows. So you can do, as you can see, I have highlighted rows 3 through 6, and then I skip down, and you want to hold down your control button and then highlight row 9. So it'll skip over row 7 and 8. I think that's a really good feature because, you don't want to delete all of your data because all of it didn't upload correctly. In Spreadsheet Designer, it's nice because you just highlight your errors, fix them, and upload them, and just disregard all the ones that went in correctly.
So you don't have to climb it alone. You don't have to go it alone. Reach out to us at www.rpic.com or lrogers@rpic to reach out to myself or to Michelle at mhager@rpic.com.
So I think I didn't answer Colleen's question. Yes, that was through a basic invoice. She asked, the video that we are showing, is that a query from a basic invoice screen? And yep, I just did the basic payables invoice business class, but you're looking for an RJ upload from a basic invoice. That was not it, but if you need help in finding it, I can walk you through it. Also help you just create just a basic upload spreadsheet, or if you're looking for a query, we can just walk through it and find the business class. Or I can just get you the business class, either one.
Michelle's email's up there if you want to fire her off an email if you're requesting copies of the videos. She can do that after the presentation.
Yeah, no problem. And then Stephen Kaiser said, when you upload the no values, would you typically reload all fields or just the indexed fields plus the no field? I think that's what you're getting at. You upload the no values. You would want to reload, and it's just to be safe. My advice is to reload all of the fields. You'll get to know all of the yellow required fields. That's your safest bet. Just because it's required in yellow doesn't mean doesn't mean there aren't other required fields. It's gonna need to. It'll tell you. I mean, it pops in yellow or says some data is missing, but your safest bet is to do all of them. It's kind of a pain instead of selecting a few fields, but safest bet. I'm gonna have to get back to you on the XMIT fields, like you do with add-ins, to bypass errors like must inquire before a change. I know what you mean when you have to inquire like in S3 or like with add-ins, but that I don't believe that's a feature in Cloud Suite with Spreadsheet Designer. But I will get back to you. We have a ton of people that are experts on S3 stuff.
Hey, Michelle, real quick, yeah. I just reached out to Logan, and he said he does have a transcript of the chat, so you can just reach out to him after the session.
Nice.
If you miss anything.
Thank you. Glad to have you here. Oh yeah, we answered the disabled colors. I know I was super muffled, hopefully. Actually, just like sending you guys the video recording would probably be a lot easier. Then you can go over it, pause it, do it on your, as I do the video. But yeah, you don't have to manage, like, you have to save the UWF files, and you have to make sure you grab the same, that's in MS add-ins. You don't have to do that here with Spreadsheet Designer. You just save the workbook. I think in the very new version, there are a few glitches whenever you saved. You got to be careful that your columns still were there when you open it back up. I've seen it through RPI that it's gotten a lot better. But I think that the query, the Spreadsheet Designer, the query and the uploads, it's just nicer. You just save your spreadsheet, open it back up, then you have to go fishing for this UWF file. Especially like if someone changes your UWF file, you didn't know. Spreadsheet Designer is much better. So Joseph, you'd said Infor uses summarized transactions, especially with payroll. Can this tool be used to make the list transactions that posted the GL that make up the summarized transactions? It depends. So with payroll, if you're interfacing it through an outside system into the GL, You can. It's in a different business class, and then it gets summarized into another business class. So you just want to make sure you pick the correct business class. So you also need to upload it in detail. So there's like a few caveats to that. So in the future, if anyone is to ask you, do you want detail uploaded? Yes, you do. But there's a checkbox, and this is only when you're interfacing data into CSF that I'm aware of. I can check on that too. But there's a checkbox of when it posts to the global ledger in a different business class. You check the box that says summarized. It's also true with AP. You can, I think a lot of people choose to summarize it right off the bat. So AP, I'll get back to you on, but with payroll, if you're interfacing it into the global ledger, yes. I see there was, thanks, Stace. No, I have not done a billion rows of an upload with ISD, but I'd be curious if you have. Have you ever done one? That's pretty sweet. I'll have everyone reach out to you though if they need to. How to query using a date range? You can. For anyone not know, that's my old boss and good friend at Confluence Health in Wenatchee. Always with the jokes. You can query using a date range, and Lisa was showing, you know, the filter builder. Is that slide somewhere up there?
I can go back.
I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a really good way to query. Yeah, sweet. So that one, you don't have to do like not equal to or equal to. There's Q granddaughter. She distracted me.
Thank you. Michelle, you're sharing your screen as well, so we're sharing two screens. So you might want to stop yours.
How do I not share?
At the bottom, just click the monitor.
That's right.
There you go.
There's just one row there that we chose, but you can do and or statements. So if you want to do greater than or equal to January 1st, 2020, and then at the very top it says add. You just click the add button and it gives you another row where you can use the and statement to do less than or equal to. Yeah. I'd love to know. Yeah, I'd love to know what that is. It took more than 48 hours to run.
Wow.
Inefficient. Huh. What was your past life, Mike? I wonder if you heard.
Can we unmute?
I don't even know how to unshare my desktop. I'm not sure how to unmute people.
Michelle, you unshared. So now we only see Lisa's.
Sorry, what's that, Simeon?
We only see Lisa's. You unshared your desktop.
Do you want me to stop sharing mine?
No, I think it's okay. Or were you guys wanting to unmute Mike?
Yeah, can we unmute? Oh, I was in banking. That is when I worked for finance. It was P&L fact table that was rebuilt monthly. Wow. Yuck.
Hopefully on the weekend. Thanks.
So I'd be curious as what it is in Spreadsheet Designer because it seems to go so much faster.
Yeah, it's improved. You know, it wasn't quite as fast at first, but yeah, it really helps to know those little tricks right off the bat, because it's painful if you don't know to limit your query or what fields to upload.